Welcome back to Caterpillar Summer, Part 4 Answers and Questions. Of all the chickens in the world, I'm so glad I have you. Had a cute picture. Chapter 19. Cat wasn't sure if fish were shy or stubborn, but some mornings she and Macon came away empty-handed after spending hours at the pier. They had been there since the sun came up, and the fish weren't cooperating. She focused on the water, hoping a hungry fish would find her hook. The time spent with Macon was often her favorite part of the day. The stillness of the morning surrounded them, and the sound of rushing waves made her breathe deeper. She leaned back on the bench and let her mind wander to the day she arrived on the island. She had so many questions about why Mom left, and here she was 10 days later without any answers. How come you and Mom never talk? The words were out before she realized them. Mason rubbed the rough, tan skin at the back of his neck. She talks to your grandma. It was too late to go back. She had to go forward. But she never talks to you? That's a rough one. He was quiet for a long time, looking at the water. Cat was starting to think he had forgotten the question. Finally he spoke. Promise to stay and hear me out? Of course. Macon shifted on the bench, pulling his old blue ball cap down over his eyes. When your mom and dad got married, I didn't take the news well. A picture from the big blue book floated into her brain. The wedding day on the courthouse steps. Why? I wanted more for her. Cat frowned. How? I thought of art as a hobby, not a career, he said. I wanted her to have stability. Thought she could consider pre-med. Mom, as a doctor, she could never pick the right medicine for someone or do surgery. She didn't even like to be around sick people. Mom made things that were funny and beautiful and constantly had paint under her fingernails. Cat shook her head. Never in a million years. Macon chuckled. So that part wasn't the greatest idea, but there was more. They came to see us. I'd never seen Amanda so excited. Ben wore a tie. He stopped for a minute. I thought he was going to ask her for her hand in marriage, Mason continued finally. I would have asked them to wait a bit longer. They were too young, but, Cat frowned, but what? He grimaced. They weren't asking. They eloped, ran off and got married without telling their families, and that wasn't even their biggest news. Cat knew immediately. Me. I was the biggest news, right? They were expecting me. Macon nodded. He didn't meet her eye. She understood in a flash. Macon said he didn't agree with Mom's choices. That meant being an artist, marrying Daddy, and one more thing, Mom's choice to have Cat. Sharp tears prickled her eyes. No wonder he shut himself away when they arrived. He had never wanted her to be born. She stood. Even though her knees wobbled, she would go. She did not want to him. She did not want to see her. She did not want him to see her cry. Macon's voice was quiet. Hear me out? She hesitated. Please, he repeated, voice scratchy. It was the please that did it. She lowered herself to the bench. Thank you, he said sadly. The first thing you need to know is that your grandpa is a stubborn old fool. Her mouth almost twitched into a smile, but the dull ache in her heart smoothed it into a line. Macon continued, my plan for your mom's life did not include a husband and a child living on the other side of the dadgum country in San Francisco. She crossed her arms. There was nothing wrong with Mom, Daddy, or San Francisco. There was nothing wrong with Cat. I was I was coming at it all wrong. I saw Amanda as a child, my child, not as a person who was on her own path, on a path with your dad. Macon sighed. I followed the steps. Your mom was supposed to follow them too. College before marriage, marriage before babies. That's how I thought it should be done. Kat shook her head. Because it was right for you doesn't mean it was right for her, for them. Macon took off his hat and waved it. Where the heck were you when I needed to hear that 12 years ago? She looked at his face. Through his tears, her eyes twinkled. Kat couldn't help it. She grinned back at him. She thought of the girl Mom had been on this island, her white dress and gloves, her school pictures on the wall. It didn't seem like Macon had known that girl very well. So what happened? Kat said. Exactly, I mean. Macon let out a long breath. They wanted to run off into the sunset together. No plans, no jobs, no apartment. The only thing they were sure of was each other. Her beautiful young parents, so in love, so ready to be a family. Macon sighed again. I reacted badly. That's an understatement. My feelings were hurt. I see that. I tried to lay down the law like she was a child because I was afraid to lose her. And in doing that, I really did lose her. They looked at the water for the first time ever. Kat was glad the fish weren't biting. After she left, I was angry, said Macon. That's when I started my morning walks. The ocean heard my anger and eventually washed it away. Then I finally understood what I've been missing all these years. All those years. Kat looked at him curiously. What was that? Macon blew a big breath out. Being a parent is a kind of promise. A promise to stand by someone even if you think they're making a mistake. To love who you get, not who you think you're going to get. Kat thought about his story. Something was missing. Why didn't you ever say sorry? A long time ago I tried, more than once. She didn't want to hear it. For a while she wouldn't even talk to Lily, which just about broke her grandmother's heart. Slowly they got back in touch over the phone. The occasional photograph. I never wanted to upset that delicate balance. She watched him pull a bandana from his pocket. Sometimes Macon was so afraid of doing the wrong thing that it stopped him from doing the right thing. At first I thought we'd patch it up. You were born, the years went by, Chicken came along, and then your dad's cancer. It was so fast, and you lost him. Kat, you and Chicken and Amanda all lost him. Macon wiped his eyes. When I think about how close I got to never knowing you and Chicken, when I think about all the years I missed that I can never get back. Kat's eyes filled and the planks of the pier blurred. She willed herself not to blink. Macon cleared his throat, folding the bandana into a square. I've spent years being sad, and that's enough. Now it's time to make it right. It wasn't right yet, not to Kat. You were wrong. You know, having me was a good thing. Macon looked surprised. Well, of course, Kat. I know that. You can tell I know that, right? Don't hate. The fool I was. You and your brother are the best gifts I've ever been given. She heard his words but wasn't convinced. Her heart was a balloon. The slightest breeze could send it 1,000 miles. Macon continued. You can be mad at me all you want. I deserve it. But I'm here to help. She thought of him that day at the ice cream shop, shredding his paper wrapper. She wanted to be grateful for the help, but a hard lump of sadness sat in the way. Macon's voice interrupted her thoughts. I don't mean the contest. I'm your grandfather. I'll be there for years, I promise. Kat knew the truth when she heard it. She reached out and he wrapped his hand around her. Nothing was there was nothing more to say. They went back to the house and put away the gear. When they stepped into the kitchen, it was like walking into a billowy cloud. Flowers surrounded them. Hundreds of biscuits lined the counters, stacked several high on the available surface. What in the world? Caterpillar! Chicken waved her metal biscuit cutter. We're playing cookie cutter sharks. Lily smiled at Cat. He saw me roll in the dough and wanted to help. I've learned all about cookie cutter sharks this morning. Wow, said Cat. This is a lot of biscuits. I'm a biscuit cutter shark, shouted Chicken. Macon stepped into the kitchen. What's this? He asked. Chicken held a biscuit in each hand and circled the kitchen in a figure 8 pattern. Biscuit cutter shark, he said as he galloped by Macon. Macon scooped him up. Chicken wrapped his arms around Macon's neck, screaming with glee. Cuttlefish! Macon tossed Chicken in the air. Cat had missed out on 11 years of memories on this island, and Chicken had missed out on 7, but they were making up for lost time. Gingerbread Island was a part of them, and it always would be. Chapter 20. Cat studied the detailed drawings on her bedroom wall. Big or small, they were all framed and hung in a perfect spot, fitting together like a puzzle. They were majestic sailing ships with detailed riggings and portholes, squat tugboats, a pirate ship steered by a mean-looking crew. The maps were of places from books. Cat recognized Middle-earth, Narnia, and the Ozarks from where the red fern grows, all labeled in small, even letters. She was just leaning in for a better look when Lily walked in the open door. She held a basket of laundry. Cat felt bad that Lily was washing her clothes. I'll take care of that. I don't mind, said Lily, but maybe you could fold socks and keep me company. Socks were the best part of laundry, as long as they're all matched up. What do you think of your mom's drawings? Asked Lily. It took Cat a minute. You mean she drew those? They're different from her style now. She spent hours getting the details right, drawing as she read. She loved the ships, too, especially ones with ornate carvings. The gingerbread, that's what this island is named for. Cat nodded. Between her books and her drawings, she had an entire world up here with her. Did she always like drawing? Cat asked. Lily opened the dresser drawer and stacked Cat's shorts aside. Drawing and paintings, loved to read like you. She looked at Cat and smiled. Lots of ideas about changing the world. Did she and Macon ever get along? Cat asked. They seem so different. They're more alike than they think, which is its own kind of problem, said Lily. Cat considered this. She hadn't ever thought about people being too alike. How so? Both stubborn, and they love their work. A little too much, said Lily. Macon loved being a surgeon. He wrapped up the whole identity in it. He didn't leave it at the end of the day. He loved his patients too much, and they loved him too. Of course, Lily continues surgeries at the hospital all hours of the day and night, and somehow, and all that busy, he forgot that Daddy's girl was busy too, busy growing up. So he wasn't around a lot, said Cat, but at least he was alive. Your daddy, said Lily as she sank down on the edge of the bed. I'm sure he loved you to the end of the world and back. Usually when people said this kind of thing, Cat wailed off her heart. She only talked about Daddy with people who knew him well. People who didn't know Daddy couldn't understand what she had lost. How could she explain him to someone who had never seen his perfect way of peeling oranges or how he danced with Mom in the kitchen? But with Lily, it was different. She knew him before he was her daddy. She said she liked having him visit. Kat twisted a sock. I bet he was a great dad, said Lily. Kat remembered the day in third grade when her teacher explained the idea of infantry. Some kids had a hard time figuring out what it meant, but Kat understood right away. Death was infantry. It wasn't contained in a day, a month, or a year. It existed in a way that couldn't be measured. It's sad backward and forward, Kat said quietly. Lily paused. Kat realized Lily would wait for hours if Kat needed her to. The thought made her want to keep talking. I miss him backward when I think about piggy bank rides or cracking eggs. And I miss him for when I think of all he isn't here for, the things he won't ever be here for. Lily reached out to touch Kat's face. That's the heart of it, my sweet girl. So sad and so unfair. Her touch was gentle. It made Kat's eyes tear. She leaned against Lily. I wish someone would have told me I would miss him forever in all directions. Lily patted her back. The weight of the world, she said so quietly. Kat barely heard her. The weight of the world. Kat's face was pressed against Lily's shoulder. If Kat kept crying, she would make Lily's shirt wet. I'm sorry, she mumbled. She pulled away, but Lily pulled her back in. They sat like that for a minute. Lily handed her a handkerchief that smelled like lemons. Nothing to be sorry about, said Lily. Kat wiped her eyes. I'd make it better if I could. I can't, and no one ever will. But you're welcome to cry on my shoulder any time, deal? Lily asked. Kat cleared her throat. It was a good offer, deal. Lily hugged her again. Kat would take that too. When she let go, Kat picked up the 2 leftover socks. I don't have the matches for these. I hate that, said Lily. Me too, said Kat. It is the absolute worst. Well, said Lily slowly, maybe not the absolute worst. Kat looked at her grandmother, and they both started cracking up. Okay, Kat gasped. There are slightly worse things. They couldn't stop laughing. Kat folded the mismatched socks together and held them up. Lily started laughing so hard she was bent over. Kat caught her breath. Promise you won't laugh at my mixed-up socks? I would never promise that. They started laughing again. Kat could hardly take a breath. Chicken and Macon were in the doorway. Macon looked worried. Everything okay in here? Asked Macon. Not really, Kat choked out. It's the worst, Lily howled. Macon looked at her. What in the world are they up to? Chicken looked at them carefully, then shrugged. Laundry, I guess. This made Kat and Lily laugh harder. It was the best kind of worst Kat could think of. Tune in next time as we read chapter 21.